What's up guys, it's Zach and welcome back to AnimeRaid. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite shows from the past few years and the first few episodes of its second season, The Promised Neverland. Man, where do I even begin to talk about this show? Before we start, let's take a quick trip down memory lane. When The Promised Neverland Season 1 first aired back in winter 2019, I went into the show completely blind. I knew the show was coming in with a significant amount of hype behind it, but I'm one of those people that believe that a show's not going to live up to the hype that it gets prior to airing, so I kept my expectations in check. Apparently, there was no reason for me to keep those expectations in check because the first episode was absolutely amazing, and so was the whole show. The Promised Neverland Season 1 was one of those rare shows that I could not wait for the next episode to come out. I would watch it almost immediately after it dropped here in the United States. The show was easily my favorite show of the entire season, and that's saying a lot when you've got shows like Kaguya-sama Season 1 and Mob Psycho Season 2. The show was just that good. Even though I absolutely love the show, I can't really put my finger on why I do. Perhaps it's the willpower and leadership that Emma shows throughout the entire series, or the determination and guts these kids show once they understand their true reality. Or maybe it's that riveting feeling and looming fear that one of these adorable little children is gonna die and I have no choice but to keep watching the show. I mean, come on, you gotta be worried about my man Phil dying in horrific fashion. Regardless of the reason, I absolutely love The Promised Neverland, and I actually gave it a 10 out of 10 on my anime list. Now, I don't take 10 out of 10s lightly. Even for shows that I give 10 out of 10s, I usually believe they have flaws, but I just give it a 10 out of 10 because I loved it so much. Even though The Promised Neverland's got its flaws, and it's not perfect, because I love it so much, I think it's the closest thing to a modern masterpiece in anime we've seen in a long time. So, as you could probably expect, I was super excited when I heard that it was getting a second season. The second season is long overdue for me and probably for many of you, and it was delayed because of that massive world event that happened this year that plagued the world and upheaved many of our lives. Even though the show was delayed by a few months, my hype has not wavered, and I'm super excited to talk about the first 3 episodes of The Promised Neverland Season 2 right now. Let's get started. However, I want to make it clear that there may be some spoilers in this video from Season 1 and the first few episodes of Season 2. If you haven't watched The Promised Neverland, which you should have because it's absolutely amazing, go do that and then come back to the video and we can talk about it. Now, without further ado, let's get rolling. Promised Neverland picks up right where it left us in winter 2019 in the forest behind the walls of the farm that the kids escaped from. These adorable little children are clearly not where they belong, as you can probably tell by Exhibit A. Man, could you imagine the terror these kids must feel? Like, I get it, this is anime. We have Reptile Man and 800-year-old fox mates. But if I was 8 years old and in that position, I probably would have been dead a long time ago. To be honest, I probably would have fallen off the cliff while trying to leave the farm. Anyways, it's very clear that these children are in grave danger. Thankfully, they are saved. By who, you must ask? Well, our children are saved by demons. Yeah, they're saved by demons. Yes, in the very same show where the vital goal of these children is to escape a farm where they were bred to be demon food, they are saved by those very creatures. Now, while some people might say that this is a predictable plot point or that it's kind of a cop-out, I think narratively it makes perfect sense. How else do you expect these kids to escape the forest? The demons Sonju and Mujika saved the children, but the bigger question here is, why didn't they eat them? The question is swiftly answered, and we learn that Sonju and Mujika do not eat humans because of religious beliefs. More on that a little bit later. I think this is a great way to explain their actions, and I also think it's really great from a world-building standpoint. Prior to this, we as the viewer are led to believe that these demons are man-eating creatures that will stop at nothing to consume them. Mujika helps shows that this world is incredibly vast, and not all the demons are bad creatures. Yes, there's a reason I left out Sonju's name. I just mentioned this world The Promised Neverland takes place in. Turns out it's Earth. Man, things really went downhill after 2020. All jokes aside, in the second episode, we start to really get a better understanding of the world that The Promised Neverland takes place in. We learn that Earth is now inhabited by demons and humans, and that the children residing in the farms were an offering given by humans to the demons. The humans gave these demons this offering because this means that they could breed children to be their food instead of eating other humans. The demons and humans now live on opposite sides of the world and do not interact. So essentially, these children were shipped off to be cattle. That's brutal. Now you might be thinking, there's a human side of the world. These kids can just go to the human side of the world and be okay. Well, sorta. Apparently, the children from the farm will not be allowed to cross over to the human world and are actually prohibited from doing so. That's a lot to take in just 2 episodes. Let's go to episode 3. Earlier I mentioned that Sonju and Majika do not eat humans because of religious beliefs. Now, while that's a good thing, it appears that Sonju's motives aren't as good as they seem to be. You see, their religion only prevents them from eating humans from the farms. It says nothing about eating wild humans. So, Sonju basically let these children escape, hoping they would make wild humans. At least Mujika seems really nice. The rest of the 3rd episode is actually pretty pleasant. The children make their way to the coordinates that Mr. Minerva told them to go, and it turns out there's a shelter there, and they can hunker down and plan their next move. I must say, after watching these children suffer constantly through the first season and the first couple episodes of the second, it's really nice to see these kids actually act like children for a change and have fun. This childlike attitude does not last for long because at the end of the 3rd episode, we get our first appearance from Mr. Minerva. Per usual, I will now wait an entire week for the next episode to air and watch it immediately upon airing. Until then, I will probably watch other shows or work on my next video. A couple of quick thoughts before we move on to the soundtrack. I want to go back to episode 2 real quickly and talk about Emma's actions as a character. It's very clear that Emma is a selfless character who's willing to put others above herself. Now, while I love this aspect of her character and it drives a huge part of her dynamic with the other children, I think she's biting off a little bit more than she can chew, trying to get all the kids from all the farms to safety. Man, if that were me, I'd cut my losses and run. I don't know if that makes me a bad person, but that's just how I feel. Another thing I want to talk about is Emma and her reaction to the possibility of having to take a life. In episode 2, Emma asks Sonju to teach her how to take a life, and this is something she has a really difficult time grasping. Emma fully understands that this is something she will likely have to do, but she's really hesitant to do so. Given the nature of the world the Promised Neverland takes place in, you would think that you would do anything to survive, including taking a life. I think Emma's difficulty grasping this concept truly shows how difficult it is to do something like that, even when your back is against the wall. And I find that to be incredibly thought-provoking. One final thing I want to say is, I absolutely love Rei's character design, and I love his voice actor, Maria Ise. This is very clearly because one of my favorite characters in anime is Killua Zoldike from Hunter x Hunter, and they share the same voice actor. I just felt I needed to say that. The only thing about the soundtrack I want to say thus far is I absolutely love the Season 2 OP. I was a fan of Season 1's opening, but man, this one blows that one out of the water for me. I'll play a quick clip from it if you haven't heard it yet. Maybe it's recency bias, but damn, that is a good OP. To conclude, I am absolutely loving the direction the show is going so far, and I have no doubt that I'm going to love it just as much as I loved the first season. There's just so much to like about The Promised Neverland. The story is super intriguing, the show has shown that it's not afraid to drop bombs on us, and there's so much mystery to be solved. I just hope that The Promised Neverland continues to keep up this energy, and I will be totally happy with the rest of the season. Thank you so much for watching my initial reactions video to episodes 1 through 3 of The Promised Neverland Season 2. I'm super excited going forward, and I hope you are too. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for more anime content, and I plan to bring some to you guys very soon. Also, in the comments below, let me know what you think of The Promised Neverland Season 2 so far, and if you love the series as much as I do. Until next time, keep rating that anime, and I hope to see you in my future videos. Take care, one love.